If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, and so many more places. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, it's totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hello again and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with RJ. If this is your first time listening, please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe depending on what platform you're using. And if there is one, please hit that notification bell so you know exactly when we release brand new episodes. Today we're going to be talking about how do I know if my partner is right for me? This is something I think that everybody in a serious romantic relationship should ask themselves because a lot of people look at the wrong things. There are a lot of people out there who look and say, well, this person has a lot of money, they have a stable job. They're looking specifically at how that person can provide financially. But financial provisions are very small parts of life. Yeah, we often find ourselves living paycheck to paycheck and, struggling just to make it. I get that. But a relationship is far more than financial. There's the abundance of need, if you will, or the abundant need, to be better said, the abundant need of emotional awareness and emotional support. Because what happens if you lose that job? What do you have then? Because if all you focused on is the fact that this person makes X amount of dollars every year and they can provide for you financially and provide for your family, what happens if they lose that job? Is that person worthless to you now? Well, that's not necessarily what I think you should be looking at. Because there are lots of people out there right now in the world who were born into wealth, who have so much money, but then guess what? Something happens, the assets go wrong, and then that person's broke. And then they finally realize, oh crap, I have a lame dirtbag person. Because you were not looking at the right characteristics, the right ingredients, and the right needs for a relationship. I think it's so important to not focus on the money that a person has. Another thing that a lot of people focus on is those pretty, beautiful blue eyes or those gorgeous brown eyes that your partner has. Oh, I just get lost whenever I look in my partner's eyes and I melt. People find that. People feel that reason or that and look at them and go, oh my gosh, I love their physical attributes. They have an amazing body. Oh, every time I look at their body, it just makes me hot. You feel that when you look at your partner. But is that what makes or breaks a relationship and determines whether that person's right for you? I don't think so. In fact, I strongly believe, in my experience at least, I strongly believe that financial and physical are very small parts of a big picture. Because rather than have millions of dollars in this one, provider, I'd rather have a person who has an incredible work ethic, who will do whatever it takes to safely and lawfully provide for my family, if they are the provider, or that they would contribute to my home. Whether that be for me, in my case, whether that be a stay-at-home mom or an equally working companion who works and also contributes. So it has nothing to do with the physical. In my opinion, what I like to say is that looks make me look, but it's personality and character that keeps me looking. That's what I fall in love with. So if I'm looking at this woman who has an incredible body, what happens if she gets caught in a fire? What happens if she gets into a bad accident or she has a thyroid problem and she gains a whole lot of weight? What happens then? Am I no longer attracted to her? If you find yourself saying yes to that situation or, adding your partner, whatever your preference will be, if you find yourself no longer attracted to the person because of an accident that they were in or because of a certain amount of weight that they gained or whatever the case may be, you were never focused on the right things. You were looking only at the physical. And the physical doesn't bring happiness. Again, I've said in past broadcasts that there are so many people out there who are miserable and have millions and millions of dollars. How many celebrities have we heard that just committed suicide? They were rich, wealthy beyond imagination, but they committed suicide because ultimately what? They were alone. Although they had thousands or millions of fans just throwing themselves at them, like, oh my gosh, I love you. You've impacted my life so much. Thank you so much. They know that they're still alone. Money doesn't keep you company. Money doesn't bring happiness. It makes a lot of things easier, but it also brings a lot of fake people around you too. Like, just think, if you could probably be one of those types of people that doesn't really have a very close relationship with your family, but I guarantee you, if you were to hit the lotto or you become extraordinarily wealthy, you would start discovering cousins or siblings or long lost relatives that you've never heard of or met. They will start coming out the woodworks and be like, oh, what's up, cousin? How you doing? Oh my gosh, I love you. It's about family. Blood's thicker than water, this and this and this. Let me hold something. I got this great business plan. So if you help me buy a house, I could do, like, a lot of people just start coming up to you and thinking that you're just going to give them free money. And when you don't, the first thing out of their mouth is like, oh, money doesn't change you. You crazy. Now you think you're better than us. Like, it's not even like that. It's just, why am I going to help just give you money? You're not going to do anything of substance with it. Why would I sit there and give you $1 million if all you're going to do is blow it on a big party? In my opinion, if I were wealthy beyond reason and one of my family members came up to me and asked me for money, the way I am is I would say, okay, what are you going to do with it? And if they laid out a good business plan on how they're going to make that money continue to make money for them, absolutely, I would loan them the money. It wouldn't be a gift. I would loan them the money. Why? Because people appreciate things that they work for a lot more than that which is given. Of course, I wouldn't charge interest. I wouldn't expect a minimum amount of payment. I would tell them, I expect you to pay this back as you're able to, and I would expect them to keep their word. Yes, there would be a contract. It's about being responsible. It's about being respectful, because it's easy. Like, for those who own like properties and stuff like that, for those who are like landlords or they own properties, one of the worst tenants to rent to are your family members, because you're their family. And very often we find the case where the landlord still has to pay the mortgage for that property. If they haven't already paid it off, they still have to pay bills for that property, and the rent covers a large portion of that, if not the entire part. So when you have family members that are sitting in your house and renting it, and you're still paying that mortgage, there's often the case where we find that family members are like, oh, we'll go ahead, I'm just having a hard time right now. And then you see them come back with a brand new Xbox or a brand new big screen TV or all this other nice stuff. And you start seeing them living a good life. And you're like, how come I'm not getting any rent money? You're giving me $100 for rent, but I see you going out there on these lavish vacations. I still have a mortgage to pay. And then you start having problems with your family. That's why it's best either you give them a place to live, or a place to stay, or you don't. But I find that it's much better to actually help somebody than just give somebody something, because they tend to not appreciate it. Of course, I just digressed a lot by saying all that, but the fact is that you look at financial, if you just look at the financial characteristics of a person, you're missing the big picture. What you really want to focus on is the character. If the person's a hard worker and they're an amazing contributor, that's what you want in your life. If all you get is a person who's willing to work hard, that's a great start, because that's not just a hard worker. That is a hard worker. It's not a settlement. That's a great quality, because you know that if this person loses their job, they will hit the ground and find another one. They will find a way to pay the bills and to provide for you. Secondly, does this person disrespect you? Does this person disrespect you in public or on social media? If they're the type of person that disrespects you on social media or in public, this person doesn't respect you. So if you're with somebody like that, I strongly encourage you, get rid of them. Do not maintain a relationship with someone who's willing to air out your dirty laundry on social media, or to all of their friends, or to large groups of open individuals, or any other sources. Everybody has that one friend that they talk to about everything for advice, etc. Then that's good. If that person's pro-relationship and they're not trying to destroy your relationship, then yeah, that's fine. Everybody needs a non-biased opinion. But if they're going up and just blasting you on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and any other social media places that you have, if they're doing that, they're not for you. If they're making TikTok videos or YouTube videos or anything like that that just airs out your dirty laundry, get rid of this person. Because I'm telling you, if you really do something bad, that's the kind of person that will destroy your career. Those are the kind of people that would actually go to your job and just destroy your career, get you fired because they bring a bunch of drama to your job. Those are the types of people you definitely don't want. Additionally, if this person encourages you to become the best version of yourself, that wants to help you, that wants to be by your side, that's a good individual. That's someone you definitely want. Does this person make you feel less important whenever you come to them with a vulnerable opinion? Like something's going hard for you. You're really suffering, you're struggling through something. If that person is the kind of person that will not care or be disrespectful or just like shrug you off, that's not someone you want. If this person consistently throws your past in your face, that's not someone you want, because you can't move forward with someone who won't let go of your past. Because in moving forward, you look forward to the future. But if a person won't refocus from the past and look toward the future, walking side by side, they're going to stop walking forward, because we can only walk forward for so long with our eyes on the past before you trip over it. That's just the concept of life. Another thing is, can you trust this person? If you always feel the need to look through that person's phone, you're probably either at fault or that person is. In any case, who needs to work? Do you need to work on your trust? Do you need to work on yourself? Has that person really given you a reason to doubt their loyalty or their word? If they really have, if you find yourself not trusting that person because of their actions, why are you with them? In the relationship, be with somebody that you can trust. Of course, there is no perfect man, there is no perfect woman. Nobody's perfect, but somebody can be an equal to you and be a perfect creation for you. Does a person stop you from growing? Does a person stop you from wanting to succeed in life? Because, you know, they're like in a romantic relationship, when you want to promote or get promoted in a job that your career field, often is the case, you have to put in more work. You have to put in more hours, which means you can't possibly be there with your significant other as much as you'd like to. So if your significant other is being understanding, of course, there has to be a balance. You can't sit there and just devote every hour of your life to working. If you're doing that, you're missing the fact, or you're missing the entire point. You're working to provide a life, but you need to be able to enjoy that life. So if you're always out working, you're making money that you can't enjoy, and you're building a life for people you can't enjoy it with. So it's important to make sure that although you're working hard and you're building a life, you need to have that balance. And if you don't have that balance, you shouldn't be in a relationship, in my opinion, because it's going to end up with you hurting somebody or somebody getting hurt in that relationship. It could be you, it could be them. And if you're not ready for a relationship, you might end up finding out that you were not ready for a relationship after you have children or after you have assets in a marriage. Because, you know, once you get married, everything that was achieved within that marriage, like a house, cars, etc., anything in America that you gain together through that marriage, unless you have a prenup, of course. And if you are going into a marriage with a prenup, why are you going into this marriage? It's like you're going into a marriage and you're already planning for divorce. So I don't know, to each his own with that. My opinion is, if I don't have it when I get married and I get it within the marriage, I got that. I would have achieved that because I had an equal partner who helped me get there. So if we were to get divorced, it's just as much hers as mine, because I mean, I know it's easier said than done now, but the fact is that that's how I was raised to see it. That's how I see it. I wouldn't have got it if she wasn't there. She encouraged me, she helped me get there, and we achieved it together. So if we got divorced, we split it down the middle because that's her. Now, if I had achieved something before and then we get married, no, absolutely not. She doesn't get that because I made that before I met her, before we got married. That came before she was in the picture. So that's my opinion on prenups and stuff like that. But again, to each his own. But if you're going with somebody and you're always working and you're leaving them at home, you're not building a life with that person, you're just you're with an anchor. And I don't mean that in a good way. You're with someone who's holding you back. An equal partner wants you to succeed within reason. If you have to travel 300 days out of the year and you're only there 65 days of the year, if your significant other is okay with that, maybe they really don't like you. They just like the money and the fame and the benefits and perks that come along with that. So maybe a relationship isn't right for you at that time. But it's important. Don't settle just so you can have somebody in your life. Carefully choose somebody with whom you can build an eternity with, or with whom you can build an eternity. Because you shouldn't settle to be with someone just so you're not alone. Because if you're with the wrong person, you're going to overlook the right one. If you're with a person that will hit you, you're with the wrong person. If you're with someone who's going to abandon you every time it gets hard, you're with the wrong person. If you're going to be with someone who's going to air out your dirty laundry and talk crap about you and totally disrespect you, whether it's in private or public, you're with the wrong person. Don't settle for good looks. Don't settle for great financial stability, because none of that stuff brings happiness. Yeah, you get to walk out with this gorgeous mate. You get to walk outside and everyone's gonna look at him like, oh my gosh, he or she's so handsome. They're gorgeous. I love the way they look. They're beautiful. Or you get to go to your high school reunion or whatever, or you go to parties and you're pulling up in these nice luxury cars or private helicopters or whatever the case may be. You're going out to all these beautiful trips. Yeah, you're enjoying the world. You're seeing things that the average person doesn't get to see in their lifetime. But what cost is being paid? You're alone. Yes, you have a mate, but you're alone. Just because somebody's next to you doesn't mean you're not alone. I know tons of people all over the world are living with a roommate that they're married to. That's sad. It's really sad to sleep next to somebody who feels like a stranger. It's really sad to walk around a house with somebody that feels like nothing more than a roommate, even though you guys are married. So just because you're with somebody doesn't mean that you have a companion. You can still be alone in that situation. And the beautiful thing is that red flags like that 9 times out of 10 will show themselves really early in the relationship. But if you're focused on the wrong things, like, oh my gosh, they have so much money, they come from a great family. Just because you come from a great family doesn't mean that you're a great person. That's the same thing as saying a person that comes from the hood is going to be hood. That's not true, because there are tons of people who come from the hood, who are born and raised in the hood, and their entire life has been in the hood, but they had certain lessons that other people in the hood didn't, and they applied them differently. And those people grow up being incredible leaders or incredibly successful individuals. Just because you grow up in a certain environment doesn't mean that's who you're going to become. So coming from a good and productive, incredibly wealthy family doesn't mean that that person has that same work ethic or that same character, that same integrity. And very often is the case, people who are extraordinarily wealthy feel entitled. I'm not saying this about everybody who's wealthy, because there are people who are very humble and gracious. I've met many of them who have lots of money, and they're very gracious, very humble, very down-to-earth individuals. But you often find people who are very wealthy who feel entitled, who will date you and enjoy you and be, and shine you all over the place and then cheat on you. And then when you talk and confront them about it, they'll look at you like you're disposable. You're last week's trend. I don't need you, you need me. Go ahead, leave. I'll have somebody in this house tomorrow. I don't need you. Go for it. Enjoy yourself. Go. I don't need you. But you leave the Prada here. Leave the bags here. Leave all the stuff here. You're going to walk. I'll get you an Uber because that car is in my name. That the house is in my name. Everything's in my name, so you don't get anything. Those signs are there. And if you weren't too blinded by finances and good looks and this and that and yada, 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 you would have seen them. Another thing that distracts people, and a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't want to hear this. But seriously, this is something that distracts people. Sex. Because if you don't know the person and you start having sex with that individual, the sex can be incredible. And then all the bad stuff is just going to be kind of minimized. You're like, oh my gosh, the sex is the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. Or this guy knows exactly what he's doing. Or this girl knows exactly what she's doing, whatever the case may be. But guess what? Now you don't get to see the character because the sex just blew your mind. Or the sex can be extraordinarily crappy. And now you're like, now all the little things are bigger. You're like, oh, the sex sucks. And, you know, he or she is like, they're bad. You know, they're lazy. They're not a good cook. Okay, maybe they can't cook, bro. Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to talk to you and make you feel like you're the only person in the world when you're going through something? If you're so focused on the superficial things, you're going to miss the character entirely. If somebody is good for you, you feel like you can breathe. You should never feel like you're trapped, like you're in prison. You should never feel like you have to constantly investigate and find fault because you know it's there. If you're one of those people that always has the urge to look through your partner's phone, is it because you have trust issues or is it because that person appears untrustworthy? If you have trust issues, you're not ready for a relationship. If the person is untrustworthy, you're stupid for staying with that person. Because I'm telling you right now, if I was in a combat situation in war, and there's an individual in the battlefield with me, right next to me, if I can't trust that person, I'm not turning my back to that person. In fact, if I don't know for sure you're on my team, you will be in front of my rifle somehow, like maybe to the side or but I will keep my eyes on you because I don't trust you. I'm not risking my life for somebody I don't trust. I'm not going to run out in the middle of the battlefield and go pick somebody up when I'm not sure or not they're on my team. If I think they're a spy, I'm not risking my life for them. But if it's one of my brothers or sisters in uniform, I have no problem running into the battlefield with gunfire and pulling them out to get them home safely. That's my family. Whether you're in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, whatever branch you're in, you're my family. I'm going to go get you if I can. Because we don't leave family behind if we can avoid it. So keep in mind, this partner, if they're not right for you, if they're untrustworthy, why would you lay down next to someone you can't trust? Oh, they won't kill me. It might not get that extreme, but a broken heart can sometimes feel like murder. Think about that for a second. How many of us have had our hearts broken so much where we wanted all the pain to stop? Like man, I don't want to live anymore. I trusted this person. You start looking at all the stuff that you did. Of course, you're not, most of us won't go through with that pain, that desire to die, but it's there. The thoughts of like, man, I gave this person kids. I brought them into my home, into my bed, and they brought this person into my home and did these things with them in my own bed. And you're just so angry and so hurt. And all of a sudden you start feeling stupid. How could I not have seen? Maybe, which is often the case, you were looking at the wrong things. Now, I'm not going to preach to you and tell you that you shouldn't have sex before marriage. I'm not going to sit there and do that. This channel isn't for that. But what I am saying is, give it a second to get to know somebody. Make sure the person with whom you lay is actually that person. If a person always feels the need to buy stuff for you, it's likely that person's not very attentive to you. You don't have to buy tons of things to show a person you're attentive. You can do lots of little things, like writing a note. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Sending an email, sending a text. You don't have to spend money to send a text. I mean, back in the 90s, you did. They charged for each one of those texts, but today you can just do simple little things to show the person that you care. Now, on the flip side of that, if you do these simple little things to show a person that you care, but the person feels that it's not enough, that person's not the right one for you either. That's a big red flag. Because if you're extremely wealthy and you buy a girl, or you buy your spouse or your significant other, you buy them a $5,000 ring, but you're a millionaire. they're going to it's possible that they can get mad and go, really? Just a $5,000 ring, you bought me this, that's it? You're a millionaire, you could afford more. So I could afford less as well. The fact is I got that and I gave it to you. Why are you so upset about it not being the price that you think it should be? Well, if I'm going to wear this, I need it to be more, blah, blah, blah. That's a big red flag right there. That's not somebody that's going to be by your side and really have your back. That's going to be somebody that's going to be doing a job so that they can get in your will. And if that's the case, you definitely better be careful, because if that person starts nursing you, it's possible they'll start putting some Pine Sol in, or like you're on your hospital bed in a coma and they're like, it's okay, I've thought long and hard about it, let's pull the plug. Like, you're not even in a coma, they're sleeping. Like, this just happened. We just medically induced him in a coma. He's gonna come back. It's okay. No, don't do this. Just pull the plug. Like, that's the kind of person that you're gonna stay with if you're with somebody like that. People who are superficial and always need money for everything, they're gonna drain your bank account, and then when the bank account's empty, they're gonna be empty too. They're gonna leave. They're gonna run up your credit card because they don't care. They care about the lifestyle and the money. That's it. They don't care about you. You lose all that money, they're going too. Ideally, what I believe anybody should want is a person that, like, this is what I've always wanted, in my opinion. This is just for me. What I've always wanted is a woman that I knew, if I said, babe, I just lost my job, I don't know how I'm gonna pay any bills right now, we're probably gonna lose the house too, I'm really sorry about that, I tried everything I could, it was out of my hands, the company just shut down, etc., etc. I want you to go ahead and stay with your mom, and I'm just gonna stay in my car, and I'll figure it out. I'll get another job, and hopefully we can get another place, and I'll meet up with you later on. I want the kind of woman that will say, babe, come stay with my mom with me, like, come live with us too. If I'm gonna go there, you're coming there too. And if I say, babe, I can't live with your mom, I can't be seen there without being able to provide for you, I won't feel like much of a man. I'd feel like a failure, and I can't look your dad in the eyes knowing that I failed him for taking care of his daughter. I'm just gonna stay in the car. I really would want my girl to say, well, if you're gonna live in the car, so am I, because you're my home, and where you go, I go. Because I tell my fiance all the time, you're my home. She is my home. Yeah, I have my own place, but when she's not here, it doesn't feel like much of a home. It feels like a house. But when she's here, it feels like home. If you're with somebody who doesn't feel like home, you're not with the right person. If every time you date somebody or you meet somebody, you run into the very same problems, maybe you're looking in the wrong places, or you're looking for the wrong things, and quite possibly maybe the problem's you. That's why it's so important to really make a deep self-analysis. Look at yourself. Is there work I need to do to really be careful, become a better person, to be a better partner? I encourage everybody listening, stop cursing at your partner. Those words are not going to help you become or speak more respectful when you get mad. When you get mad, stop talking to each other for a little bit so that you can calm down, redirect your anger, and then focus the conversation on what the real problem is, and then try to find a solution. Don't go to war. You don't want somebody that feels like an enemy sleeping next to you. You don't want somebody that you can't trust laying next to you. You don't want to sit there and end up being intimate with somebody only to find out that you've been intimate with a fraud. It's humiliating. I dated somebody a while back, and I honestly thought that this person was the best person, an incredible person. Of course, I'm not going to say the name because I'm not going to smut them up like that, but I dated this person only to find out that this person was doing some insane things with regard to fidelity. They were not faithful by any means to me, and I was 100% faithful to them. It broke my heart because I'm like, seriously, you could have gotten me so many diseases from these nasty people you were with. I can't believe you did that. I was hurt and I was mad. And in that same aspect, I also understood that Back when I was a dog, I put women through the very same thing. It's just karma. But nonetheless, the situation is what it was. So in closing, I just want to tell you guys that if you're with someone you can't trust, you need to make a decision. And that decision should not be to stay with that person. That decision should be to be with someone who feels like home. Because home is where your heart is. So don't put your heart in a shack. Put it in a home with someone who deserves you and you deserve. Thank you for spending this time with me once again on Real Talk with RJ. Signing off.